Yeah. So, welcome to Attorney Speaks. And today we have with us Ditte Young, who is a celebrated best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and an animal communicator from Denmark. Welcome, Ditte, to Attorney Speaks. How are
Thank,
you?
thank you. I'm very fine. And how are you?
I'm doing great, and it's been a pleasure having you today on my podcast. Attorney Speaks. We bring people from different walks of life, and today we have a celebrated animal communicator with us. And I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Me too.
Okay, DJ. So I'll start with where were you born and how did you come up with animal communication? How did this all fall in place?
Oh, to make it as short as possible, I was born in Seoul, South Korea, with my twin sister
Okay.
many years ago. We got adopted to Copenhagen, Denmark, which is a part of Scandinavia and Europe. So I'm basically Danish, but I have my roots in Asia. And when I grew up, I always sensed everything. So I was an empath and I was an intuitive child, but we didn't talk much about spirituality. This is more than 46 years ago. So I
Okay.
had
Okay.
no teachers, no mentors, nowhere to go. And when I was 18, 19 years old, I contacted a clairvoyant school, which is very popular here in Scandinavia and Europe, because we want the morality, ethic, and theory to be high standard. And she told me I could communicate with animals, which I find a little bit weird because I didn't have animals. I grew up with chickens in the backyard and
Okay.
dogs, but that was basically it.
Okay.
So during my education, I practiced on human beings as a clairvoyant psychic medium, and
Okay.
I practiced on animals, and I saw how easy the method was and what the difference was between clairvoyance or readings, as we call it, and telepathy. And
Yeah.
when I saw that no one studied this, no one taught students about this, I created my own methods. And that's how
Okay.
I became an animal communicator. So I'm basically self-taught.
Self-taught. Are there any professional studies or professional degree, academic degrees on animal telepathy as such, offered by universities across the globe?
I can't remember this doctor's name who did a lot of traveling. Jane something, Jane Goodwill, Jane, and she worked with communicating with chimps and gorillas in the
Okay.
jungle. But
Okay.
I know that Rupert Sheldrake has in London has a university with scientific studies on telepathy, but not the animal communication thing. So we lack professionalism in the animal communicator field.
Okay, so you just said you were self-taught. So how did you come up with what techniques did you employ, in your career of about 26 years? That's a long time. What
Mhm.
techniques did you come across with, and how challenging it was 26 years back when people were just getting introduced to, telepathy in general?
Mm. After, when most people enter the spiritual or holistical world, it seems like they cannot get enough. So one education leads to the next education because of curiosity and openness into knowing more. So after my degree of clairvoyance and mediumship, I studied therapy for 4 years. And the method I have is a mixture of the telepathical abilities combined with therapy. And that's how
Okay.
I help with behavioral issues. And when I say, quote, behavioral issues, it's because I don't believe animals or any souls have behavioral issues, but I believe they have an instinct and a way of being in the world. And when not understood, they react. And the reaction can become a problem to the pet owner. And the reaction of people was skepticism, humongously skepticism. 26 years ago, when I, in public, announced that I was an animal communicator, and I believed, and still do, animals have emotions,
Yeah.
personalities, temper, motivation that is just as individual as us human beings. So it has been a very rough journey.
Yes, because people were not receptive of, the sensitivity of animals communicating with you. Still today, I think some people would find it very weird and awkward that animals do communicate. But yes, after researching into it for a couple of months, I think they can. And
Yeah.
I am, experiencing it firsthand for the past 14 years, being, a pet parent to lovely dogs. So my next question would be, how do you tackle people who do not believe that animals exhibit emotions as we do, or they have complexities in characters, mood swings, just like humans? How do you tackle these people?
Mm. By understanding the level of knowledge they have. Because I believe that when you can see a bigger perspective on things, as I do, and I can observe the relationship and the connection and the opportunities of development between a pet and an animal, not sorry, a pet and a pet parent or a human being, it's very important not to break that fine connection and
Yeah,
the
true.
opportunity in front of them. So how I tackle it, I understand the level they are in, and I try to push them a little bit by becoming very thorough, very detailed. And I always teach my students about detailed informations telepathically, because when they pass on details no one knows besides
Yeah.
the animal owner, that's how miracles happens. And that's the way of convincing them that there is more between heaven and earth.
Yes, there's something more between heaven and earth. Very, very rightly said. Okay, my next question would be, how does telepathy complements the traditional veterinary practice?
Mm. Oh, that's a good question, and I think it complements it. And I've always also had a lot of collaborations with various veterinarians around the globe, but we still have space to practice this even more. The way I did it was the veterinarians took care of the medicine methods and the more
Absolutely.
academical practicing methods of handling the animal. And I took care of the psychology, the connection between the animal owner and the, again, quote, animal behavioral issues. So first, the client, the animal and the animal owner came to me with a problem. And when I knew this is a health issue or this is health related, I passed it on to the veterinarian. But I had to figure out, is it the connection between the owner? Do we have a lack of communication, which explains these behavioral issues? Or do we have an ulcer or arthritis in the lower back? Or do we have food allergy? And then I pass it on, because I think it's important that one cannot stand by themselves. We have to collaborate.
Yeah. And I think caregivers, I consider them here. And the vets, I think they're here. Because the caregivers, that's why I've been into tiff with a lot of veterinarians. And to be very frank, I don't like veterinarians. But
Oh,
the only thing is that they're very rigid about the veterinary practice, the medicine,
yes.
and research. And sometimes, they do not understand how an animal behaves emotionally with the owner, with the caretaker. So the first responders are the caretakers, and I consider them. they are the people who understand their, like their kids. They understand their kids, when is he crying, when he needs something. So there is a level of intuitive sensitivity, which I find the veterinarians lack. And that is why, there is some kind of a miscommunication at times, with the veterinarians and the caretakers. Veterinarians being very rigid about certain things, about the medicine practice, the research and development, their degrees, their academics, but the caretakers always thinks from the heart, right? And that's it.
But I think it's there's a long road and there's a long way yet for us to make that collaboration, because I think collaboration is the key word. I think
Yeah.
we have to respect their knowledge, their long education, their
Yes.
way of being in the world, which I might say I see the veterinarian in Europe are working based on evidence and the ego. The ego is, I'm the last person, I'm the important person, I'm the one
Yeah.
with all the knowledge. That's the ego. But when I, as a holistical practitioner, tell them things and they examine it and they find it, they have
Yes.
to respect, okay, maybe there's other methods and easier paths to a solution. And then we have another very important debate, and that's money.
Yeah.
Because,
Of
yeah,
course. Yes.
because money rules. And
It's true.
they are afraid, or many veterinarians are afraid of
Absolutely.
um, the disrespect. You as a dog owner, or you as a telepath, or you as a masseuse, etc., didn't take my education, so don't take my clients, etc. Don't take my money. Don't take my money.
Yes. It comes down to that. Being a patent attorney and lawyer, I handle them in a different way altogether.
Yes, we agree.
I agree with you. Yes. Okay. So my next question would be, how's your experience working with the vets who have recommended surgeries while in practice the animal was treated by, itself? This has happened with me. I did not listen to the veterinarian for surgeries. The animal is perfectly all right, 14 years of age and walking and running perfectly.
Mm,
So
yes.
that was my belief. What do you think? Do miracles happen, or such things you come across in your practice?
All the time. And I think the biggest difference between the veterinarians and my methods are they are looking for the symptoms and they're treating the symptoms. But I'm
Yes.
working with the cause and effect.
Yeah.
And especially in the equine, the horse industry, we are
Yes.
sitting on huge animals, and they are super sensitive. If we were sitting on dogs, we would break them within a few
Yes, of
weeks.
course.
Um, so when I pass on telepathical informations, it's very important to differ between, is this the owner or the rider's responsibility these symptoms occur? Or do we
Yes.
have a broken leg or something that needs total, surgery? Because I would never um, argue with the veterinarians for putting them down and do surgery on them if it was
Yes.
necessary. But
Yes.
it requires knowledge and huge experience and a very high morality um, to be respected as a holistical practitioner, because this is would also be a matter of life and death for the animal.
For the animal. That's absolutely correct. In my experience, what I've witnessed, most of the things are basically being run because of the monetary mindset. And sadly, the animal suffers, although they don't have a voice, they cannot communicate. Being a caretaker, you have a different level of empathy with them. But the veterinarians, I think I yet have to find a veterinarian that is, sensitive towards the animals. Vets
Yeah.
are vets. That's it for me. Okay, my
They
next question
are
would be,
further, I think they're a little bit further ahead in Europe with compared to you live in Delhi. It seems to me like they lack some knowledge, but here in Europe with with all the spirituality that is very popular here, there's a long way. There's a long way to go.
The situation is very much the similar. The ego is the primal factor which comes in between the caretakers and the vets. That's very much there. And as far as the research and development goes, I think for the past 10 years, I have seen the trends changing. Earlier, the vets used to recommend less surgeries. They used to believe, the natural ways, homeopathy, so many other things, they used to practice. But now it's primary, get on the surgery table, get a surgery done. That's it. For
It's not.
everything, of course, it's money. And I don't hesitate to basically, say that even on record, because most of the vets are driven by monetary advances. And that's a sad situation, but it's pretty much the truth. Okay, so
Yes.
I would move on to the next questions, and that would be how do you conduct telepathic sessions with the animals, and how do the animals react afterwards?
They are very exhausted. They're tired. During a telepathical session, they react like when having a masseuse coming by, chiropractor, osteopathy. It's a treatment. So the horses yawn, yawn, get very tired, look like they are under heavy sedating, medicine. The dogs, they're lying down, almost falling asleep, but they are alert because that's their nature. Some of the dogs are more thirsty after a session,
Yeah.
and the horses are just tired. But after 4 hours, they wake up again. Doing and practicing telepathy, it's hard work. It's very, very hard. When I deliver a, I journal my clients, so whenever I make a session, I give them the journaling afterwards, and that's
Okay.
12 pages in Word with detailed information about their animals. That's a lot of information going back and forth between their
Mm,
animal and myself, and
yeah.
I'm drained too. I'm exhausted too.
Yes, I wanted to come to that question because that taxes your mind, that taxes your heart also. When you practice it, it takes a lot of your energy.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I have to take care of myself, and I'm very aware of my need for isolation, actually, because when working as an empath like you do, helping other souls, regardless if it's two or four-legged souls, I'm a therapist. I help families and children as well that are depressed and suffers from anxiety. It's helping, helping, helping. I empty myself all the time. So it's very important for me to be selective on which kind of people I'm surrounded with, and loading my own batteries all the time.
Yeah. That's absolutely necessary. That's, because it taxes a lot of your, like soul, your energy goes in each and every session. You have to rejuvenate yourself, some or the other way.
Yes.
Okay, so I will move on to next interesting questions. This will still revolve around the fact that can telepathy help evade surgeries?
Yes, when the owner will use telepathy forehand and to avoid symptoms to come. So when the problem occurs, it has been a problem ongoing for many, many months before a surgery should be required. So no, we cannot replace surgery, but we can stop it or avoid it if we ask the animal beforehand.
Beforehand, yes. I have. My next question would be, how does the mood or behavior of an animal affects your level of communication with him or her? How does a mood affect? I mean, if he is depressed, is he not going to communicate? Or if he's happy and elated, is he going to communicate more?
Yes. I have created these personality profiles on animals, which the skeptical people find very weird when I did that because I sort of humanized the animals. But over the past 26 years of knowledge, I saw that I could put them in some sort of boxes as a personality profile. And these are the playful animals, the
Yeah.
sensitive animals, the princes and princesses,
Yeah.
the king and
Yes.
queen.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yes. So that's the four personality types, and they can be a mix of it. And with each personality profiles follows a behavioral pattern. So
Okay.
playful one will be the talkative, open, playful, happy animal that will just be very talkative in my face. The
Yeah.
sensitive one would be more skeptical, would require, I need to get to know you first, you know.
Yeah.
And then we have, their self-defense mechanisms as well. We have shock trauma layers on top of their personality profiles. And because I am a therapist, I can put those layers down. So I just walk through all of it. But it also with the knowledge of animals can only be in the now. So if I see an animal that is skeptical and not communicative with me, I can ask therapeutically, how come? Why, what's the problem? What's the issue? What does it take? What do you require? And then we are already communicating. Can
Okay. Yes. Because then you're
yeah,
already friends and you know what is
exactly.
going on inside them.
Exactly, because communication is not only based on, I love you back, I'm happy back. Communication is also about the difficult things.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Because it's very amazing to know that the way humans communicate, it's a similar way the animals communicate and similar way they have personality types, right?
Yes.
Okay, very nice. uh Also, I wanted to know, do all the species like birds, probably dogs, equines, they exhibit similar kind of communications, or the level of communication is the same when you communicate with a bird or a dog or a horse? Is it the techniques are the same, or do they differ?
My technique and their techniques are basically the same because telepathy consists of three methods. It's thought-based, so I'm sending
Mm.
my thought to the animal will send a thought back. And some
Back to
people
you.
say, is it sending it in Indian language, English language, Spanish language? No, it's sending it in energetic language, which I could
Yes.
translate to, oh, you are saying hello, you know. Then it's images in front of the inner eyes. Like if I told you what is in your fridge today, you could open your fridge with your eyes, even though you're not in your kitchen, and tell me what was in the shelves, what's in the door, etc. So those type of images. And the third and most important method would be the empathical transfer from, my emotions, I'll transfer it to you. So
To you.
when I teach my students in telepathy, it's important to tell all of the people out there it's not necessary to get all three methods shown telepathically. Maybe you'll only see two of them, and some would only feel one of them. I'm just that lucky that I receive all three types of informations. And when I communicate with different types of animals, it's more, I'm doing the same thing. The method is the same, but the level of intelligence are different. That differs. So a bird is more focused on food.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. That's right.
the dogs are more focused on myself first and my human beings, and I'm aware of the pack. The horses are more focused on my pack and then my human beings. The
Mhm.
dolphin are the most intelligent animals measured
Yeah.
by what was the evidence created by their way of helping the next kind, their friends. So when they track this through sonars, oh, I have a friend, a dolphin friend, which is miles away. I pick it up telepathically, and I'm gonna swim out and help the dolphin. They have
Yeah.
the evidence of intelligence. So that's the same goes to elephants.
For elephants. Okay. Yeah.
Elephants, or they sense if someone from the pack died miles away, and they walk all the way back and mourn over this deceased elephant. So the thing they have in common, the elephant and the dolphins, are they are focused on the collective. They're focused on,
Yeah, the pack. Yeah,
yes,
it's that
which
pack.
is very interesting, because if that's true, then the human beings are the least intelligent of all the species.
Of all the species. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think my dogs are communicating with you already.
Yeah, I can hear them.
Her name is. So my next question would be: can telepathy help in human-animal coexistence? Because there are a lot of fights, especially the community animals in India. So is telepathy going to have, some sort of effect on the coexistence of animals and humans, or can it help?
Yeah, definitely, because you're saying the key word coexist.
Yeah,
One cannot exist without another. We have used animals as transportational help through many
yeah,
years, which also
yeah.
explains why most human beings and skeptical people think the human beings are above the animals. We are worth
Yes,
more than animals, because they were just a way of going to, the goal. I see more and more of my clients and my followers, and I reach thousands of people internationally now.
yes.
They they would rather be around animals than be
Yeah.
around human beings.
Then be around you.
That's so sad for human beings, because when we are with other human beings, we have a tendency of gossiping, telling people off, upsetting each other, hurting each other, which never exists with the animals. The animals,
Yes.
they're just here, they're present, they're open, they're loving. Everything, they mirror everything we want in life, which we cannot comprehend because of society. So the
Yes. Yes.
coexistence and the way how to help raise the awareness of this starts by having more animal owners who think or believe their animals are worth something. Because if they're worth something, we we res we only respect them by asking them, what is your need? What would you like to eat? What would you
Yes.
like to play with? That's how respect starts. There's
Yeah.
two individuals that needs to be combined, just as any other relationship in the world. We can never just have a relationship where one is the dominant one for the rest of their lives. They will be divorced. They will fight. They will split up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. And I think more, the empathy towards animals, sometimes, in a just lighter mood, people think that because animals don't snap back, that's why I like animals more than humans, right? So it's just, on a lighter note. But I think they have, as you've described, the same emotions, same personalities, right? Some are sensitive, some are playful. In my 14 years, I've experienced every kind of personality. I've seen very reserved dogs. They took around 5 to 6 years to allow me to touch them, and that too when they are progressing towards, adulthood, or they're getting old, they allow me to touch themselves. Maybe they have some kind of confidence in me. They believe I'm a good person, but it has taken 5 years to just pat their back. They don't allow me to touch. So,
That's
I have experienced such, animal behaviors also, and some are just wild. They're just jumping here, all over the place. So I've experienced it. I'm sure you must have experienced, such levels of sensitivities and jovial, and variety of personality types in animals as well.
All the time. And when the whole issue about not being petted or being skeptical in 5 years, I see the explanation is found with shocks and traumas, which is I have made those four personality profiles: playful, sensitive, prince, princesses, king and
Yes.
queens, but I've also made two mental states. One is rigid and lazy, and one is shocked and traumatized. And the reason why they are only mental states or self-defense mechanisms are because no animals were born like that. It was human made. It was
Yes.
because we took our power on them, and we created a situation they found shocking to them. And when
Yes.
they experience a shock, maybe not once, maybe not twice, but for the 1500 millionth time, their nervous system, just as our human beings' nervous system functions, they know I will never do this again. You can never
Yes.
touch me again, or I will never lack my food again, or I will always hate other male dark Labradors out there, or what kind of trauma they might experience. And this is the
Yes.
reason
That's
why
right.
it takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in animals' life. Because when we imagine our own shocks and traumas, we still carry them around.
Yes. True. That's true.
It takes
That's true.
humongous time and years to heal it.
To heal, to fade it, but still the memory remains. They can come back anytime. Yes,
Yes.
that's how complex a human brain works. And I think the emotions are similar. People say, you know, okay, I'll give you an example from my own family, because I have a family of doctors. And sometimes, so my sister, she's a doctor, and so we have this tip. Sometimes she says the emotional quotient of an animal is very different from humans, and that is the only point of contention, and we always argue on that. No, their need is to find food, hunt, and live happily. She says
Yes.
that, right? And this is what she perceives, from her, scientific training. And i
Yes.
i see there are more needs. They need time, they need to play with you. So she says they have different kind of emotions. Their emotional IQ is not as similar to as a human. But I think their IQ is not similar, but I think the emotional quotient, I think they're,
That's
like you've just
true.
described, they have a variety of personality types. So
That's
it's,
true. That's
yeah.
so true. And the way we measure intelligence, human intelligence, would be to calculate things.
Yes.
And to calculate things, that's the academical part of the brain, and
Yes.
that's the neurocortex part in the brain, which require we can differ between the past, the present, and the
Present and
future.
the future.
That's the
Yeah.
consequences. We can calculate consequences. That's human intelligence. Luckily, animals never wake up in the morning thinking, I wonder what my dinner will look like at 6 p.m. tonight. They will never calculate things
Yeah.
because they are not manipulative. They are just present. But does that
Yes.
make them less intelligent?
No, no.
No. We practice yoga, Pilates, meditation, go see therapist to be in the now. And the animals are just there. So
Yeah, they practice mindfulness more than humans do.
I believe they're more intelligent than we are.
Yeah, I believe so. Okay, so here comes my next question, and that would be, how many telepathic animal communicators are there across the globe? And do you feel there is a need of more and more animal communicators in the world today?
I don't know how many animal communicators there exist in the world. I only know the students I have, and we are up to 850 now, counting.
Okay. Okay.
So that's a lot, but my education requires time, it requires effort, and the standards are very high because I think the perception of an animal communicator is often misunderstood by a dog whisperer or a horse whisperer. And that's two different things. A telepath has nothing to do with a horse whisperer, because reading the physical language of, a dog or a horse has nothing to do with telepathy. When I work telepathically, I don't have to be present. I don't have to look at an animal to read it or to sense it. I only have to take one glance, look at the eyes, one glance, and I'm connected to the animal. I don't care if it's sleeping or jumping or playing. I sense everything. So I believe that if we asked or did a survey of animal communicators, we would easily find millions of animal communicators. But the high standards of communication, of animal communication, I think it's low. I think the knowledge should be spread out more. And thank you for
More,
doing so
yes.
for your podcast. And I definitely hope that we could one day create a panel of experts or a panel
Yes.
or a group or a network group of people that are working on a very, very high level. Because when people say, and you find those in all branches, I can do something which they can't, they are ruining the reputation of the true professional practitioners. And the skeptical people find it very hard to take it seriously when they have an animal communicator who are, earning some money to say, oh, it's hungry. What? I could have said that. Anyone could have said it's hungry. That's pretty logical. And that's why we need to spread out the knowledge and the effort and the focus this requires. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the spiritual workers or the holistical practitioner. We need to prove ourselves. We can't fail at all. There's no room for failure, because but the veterinarians and the academical world, they can fail all the time.
They can
That
fail. Yeah, that's the irony. They can fail. They can
Yeah.
afford to.
We can't. And we have to raise above it and say, but I'll do my best every single time for the greater cause. I'll do my very best every single time.
Perfect. That's perfect. Okay, this brings us to some of the ending segments of the podcast. Okay, any advice for people who wants to communicate with animals and they're just starting, you know, with some level of communications, sharing a glance with each other? Do you give any advice for such people?
Definitely to trust what you receive, because the most difficult part when my students train telepathy with their own animals, is made because they are emotional with their own animals. So to truly practice this, you should practice with another person's animal where you're not
Yeah,
that connected to the animal.
connect. Yes, absolutely.
One short tip could be to ask the animal a yes or no question, and arrange a yes would be looking to the right and a no would be looking to the left, and then um, have time enough, because it's not going to say yes, no, and it's not going to want to um, convince you so you can just cross-examine it for 30 minutes. It will only do it like once, twice, or three times, and then you have to end the test. But just trust it. That's basically some short tips from me.
Yeah, just to start, communicating with the animals. Okay, I just remember an incident where one of our neighbors, they must be having a couple of dogs, their pets, and they're just like roaming around, and I don't know them personally, but the pet, he looks at me and he never goes back, and the owner is like, come on, come on. And he looks at me and he never goes back. And I'm doing something in my car, trying to keep the food stuff at the and he looked at me like this.
Can I
And
come
the
with
owner,
you?
yes, you're right. I think he must be thinking this. Can I come with you? Hi, something like that. And I used to find it very amazing, that why do I feel this for the past, couple of years? See, now I think it is more consolidated that there is some level of communication, with
But
well-defined standards. Yeah, please.
but animals, we see this in a pack. You have several dogs, in
Several.
your life, and you can see very easily there's a dominant one and there's a lower one in a caste system. And the
Yes,
reason why they are basing this hierarchy, as we call it, is based on their personality profiles. So
yes,
the king and queen will lead the pack, the prince or princesses will be dominant, and the
yes,
sensitive
that's one
one will be reserved, and the playful one will try and create a party all the time in the pack.
place. Yeah,
So
that's
when
right.
these animals, this basically tells us, because they're pack animals, that they are dependent on a loving leader. The loving leader is the king
Yes,
or queen. So when they
yes.
sense that or they pick up on that in you as a person, they will become attracted by you if they don't have that loving leader where they are. They're gonna always gonna choose a loving leader.
So I am their leader.
Yeah. But if you
Wonderful.
gave in for all animals, you couldn't, afford making a living at all because all animals would choose you.
That's wonderfully put together. Thank you. I think I will consider myself a leader. They love me. I know.
Do
Okay,
that.
so just concluding, any success stories that you would like to share with us? Little stories of success. Over the period of 26 years. Something like really magical, wonderful. Did you come across with?
I experience miracles every single day, and I help people from the little girl with a pony in the riding school to elite riders on national teams going to the Olympics to the dog owners who are um, making competition. The police are using dogs as well, and just the
Yeah.
normal, regular
Yes.
family dog. It varies a lot. I help cat people too, and um, I've been blessed with opportunities I cannot explain, but I can share some of them. Some of the ex the experiences that have made the greatest impact on me was first a horse I helped in my country um, told me, because I needed to go visit the horse. The owner wanted to know it was pregnant. What will come
Okay.
out of it? Is it a boy or a girl? A gelding or a
Okay.
mare? And I told them,
Okay.
I sensed this is a masculine energy. So I sensed this is a gelding or a stallion coming out. And I remember the mare, the mother, horse mother, looked me in the eyes and said, "But you're pregnant too, Dita." And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
"What?" Plan on becoming pregnant. And I knew animals can never tell a lie. So I ran back home and did a pregnancy test, and I was pregnant with my son Philip. And he was a boy too. That made a huge impact on me. And another one was we have zoos here in Europe where we captivate wild animals. We
Okay.
have four zoos in my country, which is a very small country because we only have 6 millions of Danish people here. So it's a small
Okay.
country. So four zoos, that's a lot. And we use them for teaching people in schools about animal life and how to protect them, blah, blah, blah. And there are very different opinions about captivating animals. Half of the country hates the zoos and we should close them down. And the other half find it interesting for educational use for children and them to see real animals. And one of the zoos hired me to come and help them with sea lions, elephants, and
Okay.
chimps. And
Okay.
I remember this because I walked into a room filled with these animal caretakers that were very skeptical. There were sitting 70 old grumpy men looking at me like, don't you come in here, tell me how to do my job. And after a speech in 30 minutes, they lay down their the forces, and I had them convinced because I talked into where they are and their ego and my uh, gratefulness in having people taking care of animals despite their under captivation. And then all of these animals had behavioral issues, and we solved it. While the 70 grumpy men looked at me, I solved the problems. And I remember that was the yay! I got those people convinced and I helped the animals. And the
That's
last,
one.
yes, that was amazing. And it also, because I'm a public figure here in my country, so it created great debate about me entering the zoo and helping animals under captivation, but I
Under
helped them
captivation.
with a better life. So
Yes. Yeah.
that was very interesting debate. And the last experience I'm going to share, because I have thousands, was I went to Africa some
Okay.
years ago, and I
Okay.
communicated with the wildlife, with the animals in
Right.
their nature, and
Nature. Okay.
I understood. Yeah, they were more raw in their instinct, of course, because they weren't socialized. But I understood the beauty and the power of each animal and how observed they were, especially the elephants on the other in the group, you know.
Yeah.
And that was just when I was in Africa, I knew I am in the center of the earth. I am now in the heart of the earth. Why are we not taking care of this country? This is one of the poorest countries in the world. And this is the
Yeah.
essence where life came from when I was in Africa. So yeah, that was three very different experiences I have with animals.
Yes. I have one question because I'm very intrigued. Do animals, the pet animals, they communicate differently from the animals out there in the wild? For example, in the forest, do you, they communicate? The level of communication, is that similar or different? How is it different, if at all?
The communication is the same, but their awareness is different, because when we socialize them and we take them in, for example, we take the dog away from the natural pack with the mom and the other puppies, we buy
Yes.
them or we rescue them or we take them away. Now I'm alone. I think I'm gonna die, so I better connect with a new pack. The new pack is
Okay.
often other animals or human beings. So the
Okay.
socialized animals are more aware of the human beings than the wildlife, because they don't care about the human beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that
That's
make
right.
sense?
It does make sense because I think I've just started going to, some of the safaris, where you actually get to see animals, with the close proximity.
They
And
don't care.
I never looked them directly in their eyes. We spotted a tigress. She was taking a nap and she didn't arrive. And the very next safari, she was giving, like kisses to each and everyone. And we
Oh,
missed the
really?
chance. Yeah, we saw a
Oh,
leopard just crossing, I mean, they're wild, you're not allowed to go out of the jeep, okay, the
no, 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 no.
safari vehicle. You cannot afford to do that. There were, like bisons, there were chipmunks, crocodiles, just hiding in their place. I mean, it was amazing. But it was intriguing that, animals in the wild, they might be communicating, in a very probably a different manner as compared to animals in captivity. Their instincts are very different.
Yes,
So,
that's true.
yeah, yeah, because a tiger who has been raised, in close environment would behave differently than a tiger or a tigress out there in the wild. Their instincts are, they're furious. Sometimes they used to kill the animals. They're dragging their kill. You see it live in the forest. So that's really fascinating. And how does communication works there would be even more interesting. And I think in future you can explore that as well.
Mhm. I will.
So Dite, thank you very much for your insights. This was a lovely session. I enjoyed it thoroughly. This was completely, what do you say, very informative, a very close to heart session. Um, and I hope that most of the people, I'm going to share it with most of the people who are animal lovers and also who are not animal lovers, so they can have, a nice conversation about what we have spoken about animal communication. And I hope to catch up with you uh, maybe in the next podcast where we can just go, to level X and
I
try to revamp our conversation.
I would love coming back.
Yes, thank you so much for coming to my podcast, and I hope you success in all your creative endeavors.
Thank you, and the same to you.
Thank you, Dite. Thank you. Thank you very
Let's
much.
stay
Bye bye.
let's stay connected. Bye.
Stay connected. Yeah.